Here we go. Today we're going to talk about action steps for self-sabotage, which is also the trauma. I'm describing a lot of your self-sabotage, at least in my little model of the world, and what we're talking about is some kind of it might be related to trauma, right? And well, that's what we talked about last week. Last couple of weeks, got into really good detail, and so this. We're going to talk about it a little bit more. And if you have questions, we'll talk about it at the end, right? But as always, my contact info, NFNLP and drwillhorton.com is the easiest way. I'm also obviously Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. And so let's just jump in, always remembering the only easy day was yesterday. So how can I apply, or how can I learn new? What can I learn new today? Always ask yourself these questions, as I always do when I'm starting any kind of talk or training. Kind of set your brain in a different trajectory, because when you ask yourself a question, your brain tries to answer it. So what can I learn new today? And if it's something you already know, how can I learn it differently or from a different aspect? How can I apply this info today? Both personally and professionally, right? A lot of us come into this field, therapy of all types, psychology, social work, of course, hypnotists, NLPers, coaches, the list goes on and on, because we are wounded in some way and we get involved in it, right? So how can I apply it personally as well as professionally? And then how can I enjoy this class? So when NLP, regression, or therapy has failed, that's what we're working on, right? And a lot of us have been in business for a while or had a lot of clients. We've all had the experience. If you're honest and you're not one of these internet marketing gurus who are basically nothing but assholes who just have no experience, at least in my opinion. I've never failed with a client. This works 100% of the time. It's like, damn, you talk to real life people. But anyway, most of us have had the experience where someone comes in and use an NLP technique or therapy or regression, whatever you do, and it seems to offer temporary relief, right? It seems to offer temporary relief, or you get relief for a little while, and then it kind of creeps back. I mean, I've had people, literally lose over 100 pounds. It took a while, obviously, kept it off for a couple of years, and then the weight creep back. Of course, in that arena, we see people even have the gastric bypass or stomach stapling, it used to be called. And of course, you're going to lose weight because you can't eat much food. But in fact, I knew someone quite well that did that, lost like 90 pounds, kept it off for about 2 years, and ended up putting back on 80 of it. Even though they had, if you think about it, it should be very hard because their stomach wasn't that big. And again, it's about things that are beyond words, right? Therapy, even NLP, regression, even with the affect bridge, if you're into that, it's beyond words. And we try to put words to it. And when you try to put words to a feeling, especially if it's a deep feeling in your neurology, not just in your neurology, but actually in your nervous system, it's beyond words. That part of you doesn't process words, it seems like. At least that's the current thought process of all the trauma experts who also talk about self-sabotage in different ways. And the block ripples across many parts of your life. It might not just be one part, it might be many parts. Physical, like I said, about weight loss and not getting in shape, things like that. Mental, stopping yourself from succeeding, thinking you're stupid or whatever it is. Relationships don't seem to work out, right? Or it could be financial. You'll get to a certain level, blow things up. I mean, this is what we want to work today. And always remember, all trauma is personal. It is not the event. It's how the event was encoded in your nervous system. It's either acts of commission, someone does something, and that seems to be the focus. there was an act of something happened directly to you, an abuse, you know, you were in combat. There were acts of commission by other parties or things. And that seems to be the focus, that's fine. But what about acts of omission, right? Where it's neglect, you're not supported, you're not loved, right? That can create just as much of a trauma because it's how the event was encoded into your nervous system, right? And it's beyond words, right? That's what we talked about more last week. And so remember here, now we're going to jump in to some of the best tools, because at least in this model, and this is the model I'm using, it's a physical energy block. It's not just mental, it's a physical energy block. You know, if it's just mental, a therapeutic session, you know, psychotherapy, an NLP technique, even a regression where you go back and you look at it differently, that's going to work. And that's fine. But what when that doesn't work, or it only works partially, right? It's kind of like I always use the analogy of a clogged pipe. It opens up a little bit, so you'll notice a little bit of change, and then it'll flip back and go the other way. It's like then the clog comes back. So it seems to work since it's a physical energy block, is a somatic or a physical intervention. And depending on who you study with in the trauma world, it's EFT, emotional freedom technique, or thought freedom technique for those of us that's how I first learned it. You know, and it's the tapping, you know, I should have just said tapping, right? Because it's actually physically engaging your body as you do it. A lot of people like in the trauma world like EMDR, right? Mainly because it has a lot of research behind it, right? In fact, when TFT was going on, the thought field therapy with Dr. Callahan, there was starting to do a lot of research, a lot of you know, studies to see if it worked, and it seemed to, and then it kind of just rippled out into the general population, and it lost some of that research base. EMDR is still based, a lot of people are very, you know, they're psychologists or psychiatrists or clinical social workers, so they're more into the research-based thing. But EMDR, where you move your eyes as you're accessing feelings. The polyvagal techniques, right? Where you, as you access a feeling, maybe you tilt your hand. It's about opening up your spinal channel and your polyvagal, you know, the system, so the energy is going to flow better. So all of these techniques are very fast, right? And so maybe you could do an EFT technique, EMDR, or polyvagal. I think, why not do them all, right? You know, it's kind of like if you have a really bad infection and you go to the doctor or you're in the hospital, they give you a broad-based antibiotic. They'll give you some specialty kind of antibiotic. They're going to overload your system, right? They might start with one antibiotic. Does it work? No, then this other one. In fact, one of the antibiotics was invented as I can't think of the name of it, but because it's stronger than all the others, right? So why not do them all? You know, I know in the current COVID thing, they were trying several different kinds of antibiotics and antivirals together. And if they don't take that long, why not do them all? Doesn't matter which one works, unless you're doing an empirical research study. It doesn't matter. Was it the EFT or was it the EMDR or was it the polyvagal theory? You know, it's all about opening up the system. What if they all work a little bit, but when you compound them, as hypnotists, we should love compounding. As we compound them, then maybe it really works even better. And then after you do one of these kind of somatic interventions, then rewrite the memory, right? With therapy, with a regression. I just like the old-fashioned NLP reparenting, or, you know, rewriting personal history technique works well. but after you've opened up the system. So what's important about this, though, you must access the state or feeling. It's not the thought, it's the feeling, it's the physical state, right? Because, you know, if you're just thinking about it, yeah, I self-sabotage. All right, I don't feel worthy. Okay, I could think that up here, but if I'm not in that feeling and I do whatever, I don't think it's going to work. You know, it doesn't seem to. But when you're in it, and of course, one of the great things we can do is help people enter into these states, and then work with one of the techniques, right? And I'm just generalizing all this as self-sabotage. So it could be low self-worth, not feeling good enough, right? Anybody ever have that? You're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not thin enough, you're not right? Or you don't deserve it. I just don't deserve it, you know? And one way I think we see people do that is someone gives you something or you get something you really like, but you can't bring yourself to use it. You're saving it. Right? Anybody ever do that? Whether it's something to wear, it's, you know, some food you're going to save, and when you go to eat it, damn shit went bad. Yeah, whatever it is, right? Or can you accept a gift without feeling some kind of negative feeling? So someone gives you a gift and your first response, I didn't get you anything. Oh my God, I don't deserve. And then it goes back to, I don't deserve this, right? Even though intellectually, this is a great example of the intellect versus the feeling. Intellectually, you know, the person's giving something to you because as people who like to give, and most of us in therapy do, you give because it makes you feel good. That's why you do it, right? But when it happens to you, it's like, oh, I can't accept it, you know? And you want to give it back, or then you have to run out and buy them something. And it's not, you know, so can you, you know, these are some of the examples. Or, you know, you hear that voice. Yeah, I'm stupid, I'm not pretty enough, smart enough, whatever it is. Excuse me, my nose. So we're, you know, so you then, after you step into the feeling, then we can do a semantic intervention, whether it's EFT or TFT, it's the same thing. EFT or TFT or EMDR, eye movement, I always hate saying that, desensitizing routine, or polyvagal techniques, right? Then we can open it up. Now, the inside tip is, or at least in my opinion, is the technique or techniques, if you're going to use them all, you use in conjunction with language to rewrite the flow of energy, right? So it's not just the, right? I remember watching one of the leaders at EFT, maybe it was Gary Craig, maybe it was somebody, and I watched the technique. But my only question from watching it was, if you turned off the video and you didn't do the tapping and you just listened to the words, because he was doing some beautiful hypnotic language patterns, or at least in my opinion, guiding your energy system with language. I wonder if that would have worked. Why not do them both? So you pick your words to create the imagery, if you will, of flowing energy, removing a block, right? Whatever works, right? Or the blockage being removed, right? In the winter, for those that live up north, you get ice dams on little creeks and that. And then in the spring, it starts to thaw. And then there's suddenly a, you know, it'll break open. The blockage is removed. And then we have to keep it open. You know, you keep it open. You know, down here in Florida, they're always dredging canals and waterways to keep it open, right? Because it will start to block up, right? Because we're a negative society. I think certain subcultures, certain tribes kind of involve guilt and feeling guilty and things like that. So, you know, you could re-access those old feelings, right? And then you wrap it up with rewriting the memory, right? And I think, don't make it overly complicated. One of my problems with some of the people that do some of the techniques, whether it's NLP or regression or whatever, is They seem to make it complicated. My default is they always want to appear smart for some reason. So don't make it complicated. Make it very simple, because you're dealing with the nervous system, right? You're dealing with that. So don't make it overly complicated. And then when it's over, just ask how it's different. Because I just was on a couple of those chat things or Facebook things, and they were always asking, like, after a session, what do you do? It's like, just always point to how is it different now, right? Because if you just say, if you just throw in different, it forces your brain to look for a difference. Okay. So let's do this, as we say, right? Think of a recent self-sabotaging event. I'll give you some time, right? I can think of one. I got a shirt the other day. I really like it, right? It's got my rank on it from the Army. It says proudly served and everything. And I got it. And I'm like, oh, it was nicer than I expected. I bought it online, so you never know what to expect. And my first response when I opened the package was, I'm going to put this away and wear it somewhere special, right? Even though intellectually I know, where the hell am I going to go that I could wear this? It doesn't, if I like the shirt, just wear the shirt, right? But it's like, which accesses those feelings to me of, I'm not worthy to have really nice things. I've been telling the story of I was at Walmart, beautiful Wally World, and there was a lady there, and the little kid was wanting something, and I'm not judging. It's just what happened. I know I did it when my daughter was little. Kind of kids making a scene. The person says, no, you really don't want that. You don't deserve it. You're only going to ruin it anyway, right? And and again, it was more of an act of it was commission and omission. So whatever it is, it begin to lead to it. And you don't have to find the initial sensitizing event, or whatever they call it, the other whatever it is, ISE or SSE, if you're into that world. Just step into the feeling of it, so think about it. So in my case, I could think about how when I went to wear that shirt, and I wore it the other day, I almost felt guilty about that guilt, like, oh, maybe I should save it. What if I ruin it? In my case, I probably spilled coffee on it, get food on it. It's like, well, shit, I could buy another one. I mean, they didn't quit making them. So where is it when you think of that feeling? Kind of make it physical. Use our VAK. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic. What color is it? And where in your body do you feel it? And what kind of feeling is it? Not just the mental thought, but is it like a pressure? In my case, it's a pressure right around it kind of bounces between my throat and my solar plexus. So it doesn't have to make sense. It's what it is. And it's dark, and there's a little bit of that voice of like, either you don't deserve it, or, can't have anything nice, things like that. So find that feeling, sound. And now we're going to start with a polyvagal technique. And you sit totally straight. It's better if take your back away from the back of the chair, so you're forcing yourself to sit straight, right? Drop your shoulders, and then tilt your head, put your hand on the top of your head and tilt your head. Now keep your head straight, right? As you feel that feeling, in my case, throat, solar plexus, dark feeling, I kind of hear the voice. And as you tilt your head now, shoot your eyes to the other direction as far as you can. And as you're doing this, imagine your nervous system opening up down your spine, down your nerves, just opening up from the top of your head, going down the back of your head, down your spine, down that, just opening up. And it doesn't matter, where the blocks came from, whether it was one event or multiple events. And now do the other side. And then shoot your eyes the other way as far as you can. And imagine you're connecting everything up. And again, imagine like you're doing a mental Drano system here into your pipes, in your nervous system pipes. It's going to clean them out. Okay. And then take your hands and your thumbs, put them behind your head and rub right under that little bulb of the head, right going into your spine. It's like you're going to open that little, that's where we get a lot of blocks, right? Cool. And now what we're going to do, good. Now we're going to do like an EFT technique. And I do the longer one. I know there's shorter ones out there. I do a little bit of the longer one because it gives you more time to use your language. Okay. So go ahead and then you take your hands, go like this, and take your fingers, and you can either tap this way on the inside of your eyebrows. I cross my arms and do it this way, right? And tap right there. And just think that I removed this block and whatever that feeling was. In my case, it was, yeah, I don't deserve it, I'm gonna ruin it. It's like that voice, right? And just to keep thinking, I'm opening that block. It doesn't matter where it came from. You're just opening it up. And then tap on the side of the eyes. Thinking the same thing, I'm opening that block. Imagine it going down where you just rub the back of your head. That's like opening the gates of a dam. Then under your eyes, opening that block, it's just rippling down. This is stomach 5 if you're in the pressure points. And then under the nose, opening that block. This is center vessel, I think. And then under the chin, that's the conception. I might have those two reversed. It's been a while since I did pressure points. And then collarbone, right in this spot. I cross my arms just to cross your brain up. Tap hard enough to feel. And just keep, imagine your brain opening up in your nervous system, removing the block, doesn't matter where it comes from. Step into and begin to dissipate that block. It's like that mental Drano is washing it away, whether it's out your feet or out your breath, doesn't matter. And then what we're going to do is take your 2 fingers, tap ring between your ring and little finger, tap right there. Now what I want you to do is look straight ahead. I combine EMDR with this. And now move your eyes up left as far as you can, as you try to, in vain, to hang on to that feeling. Try in vain to hang on to that feeling. It's like being flushed away, like you flush the toilet. That crap's gone. Now look up the other way as far as you can, right? Now look down left as far as you can. And just imagine, again, it's like if you ever had a clogged toilet, you know what I'm talking about. Once you remove the clog, everything flows easily. Now look down right. Look straight to the side, one side, look straight to the other side. And now bounce your eyes around like a pinball, bing, up, down, left, right, maybe make a figure 8 or an infinity sign, look straight up, look straight down. Imagine it just disappearing. The images from all the blocks, the sounds, the voices are gone, whether it's yours or other people's, the feelings, and even the self-talk begins to disappear. Right? So look up, look down, look left, look right. The pictures, the sounds, the feelings, and even the self-talk disappears. It's like the system opens up. Good. Now take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Keep your eyes closed. And now, as you are now, go back and spend some time with that memory. And maybe the event comes up about that memory. You might have been a little kid, you might have been a teenager, could have been any time, doesn't really matter, right? And even if the event doesn't come up, but you can just spend some time with the memory, if you will, or the feeling. And know that it was put in some way, shape, or form to try to be a positive, to keep you safe and secure, right? And many of us learn growing up like to disappear, to not talk, not speak up. Children should be seen and not heard. It's your thoughts, feelings aren't validated, whatever it is, all of those things. So spend some time. And as you are now, spend some time with that younger you and those memories, and thank them for what they did at the time, but they're no longer useful. Maybe at one moment in time they were for self-protection. You didn't know any better, but now that you do, you can just let that memory go. Let those feelings go. Keep the learnings, but let everything else go. And what if you told that part of yourself, that deep thing, that your nervous system, that you are a unique, worthwhile individual? Of all the billions of humans on the planet, you're the only you. Your genome, your genetic code is unique. And only you can do what you were put here to do. And part of that is to enjoy physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, relationship, financial, sexual, every aspect of your life. You were put here to enjoy. And it's okay. Good. Take all the time that you need, knowing that the next time you meditate or do self-hypnosis, or even as you're drifting off to sleep, you just imagine replaying the event we just did, so you can open up that nervous system, keep it stretched and open. And now take a deep breath. And as you exhale, open your eyes, come on back. Cool. All right, so when you think about that now, how is it different to actually do what I just taught? So I'm going to actually stick to the script. So is it different? Is there a semantic difference, right? And again, this may be one, as Dr. Porges points out, Dr. Fisher, some of the other names fall out of my head. This is you may take more than one. You got to keep practicing, because it could be compounding things, but it doesn't take long. So, good. Let me,
Yeah.
Stop the share. There we go. Hey, we're all back. All right. All right. I'm going to stop the recording and do the feedback afterwards, just so it doesn't get confusing. All right. So here we go.